Let's see if I do it. Sorry.
Podcast with your hosts Gordon and Don Abernathy.
What's up, OG5? I know that background music sounds like crap in Oreo. It's going away right now. What's going on, everybody? We are live, as Carrie just said, from the At Computer Studio in Cape Coral, Florida. But as always, joining us live from Las Vegas is our news anchor man, my brother, Gordon Abernathy. Gordon, how are you doing tonight?
You know, I would have been better because I do believe that podcasts on Saturdays require alcohol.
Okay.
And that's all I got left, man. That is it.
That's it, huh?
That's it. So, give me a dry run.
And as always, joining us live from Grove City, Ohio, is a friend of ours and a classmate and an all-around pop culture guy, Gary Bone. Gary, how are you doing tonight, sir?
Fantastic, guys. How are you?
I'm doing well. I promised that I would get rid of that background music. I didn't turn down low enough because I have the wrong one selected. So let's just get rid of that now. But no, I'm going well. We are trying to Zoom out for the first time. And I got to say, during our test cycle, everything definitely goes a lot easier than our nonsense nightmare or weekly ordeal that we deal with Skype. And it looks like we may be in luck because during the testing phase, it said that they removed the 40-minute cap because we're planning on doing tonight's episode in 2 pieces to accommodate that, but we may not have to.
That would be awesome. Gary, I have to say this. We got to put a picture of Jackson Galaxy right next to you. Seriously. And don't take it the wrong way because he's pretty punk rock. But
keep talking. Keep talking.
We will keep talking. But have you heard that one before? Have you heard that one before?
Unfortunately, at least once before, and it made my eyes roll a little harder than I just did now.
Dude, Halloween, you got to do it. I mean, you just have to.
You wish he was this young.
Own it. Oh, exactly. There you go. You out there lifting, huh? You're not not getting the quarantine 15, are you?
Oh man, push-ups, sit-ups.
No, you said that, and I'm laughing because we have a puppy, and so we bought the Jackson Galaxy stain remover.
Get it out of there.
Where's your cat, dude? Pick up your cat.
That
got a cat
facial hair is ridiculous.
Dude.
Oh,
you got to do it. You got to own it one day. Just do it.
Grow out the sideburns. You know how much money there is in celebrity lookalikes?
Oh, totally.
Man, I haven't even seen him on TV and God knows how long.
Well, that's because he's too busy building his cat piss empire. He's trying to get that up off the ground. Yeah, I mean, you don't have to worry about that when you worry about your cat piss empire. Oh, absolutely. He's riding high on the hog, man. He's down. He's there.
Fantastic. Anyway, we wanted to start off with a light note today. Sorry, Gary. But with everything that's been going on, God, man, a couple of things. I've gone through the range of emotions, and this week was the most irritated I've ever been. You know,
I would say ever been. You're kind of known for being an asshole, so I don't know how this is the most irritated you've ever been. I'm sure there's other times in your life you've been clearly more irritated than this.
Am I that? I don't see that, but whatever. I always thought I was just kind of goofy, and people kind of blew me off. But I guess lately, because I have chilled way the hell out over the years.
Well, we all have when we get older.
God, it just it's gone. The range of emotions from a little nervous to overcautious to just irritated, and as we see across the country, the natives are getting restless.
Why do you always got to bring race into this?
It's not race.
You said the natives are getting restless.
It has nothing to do with that.
What are they going to do? Like a war attack, war dance?
You know what I mean? I speak in jest with no harm to anybody or anything.
Particularly the natives.
I love all people the same. Well,
except for those one people, but we won't get into
that. Hillbillies. God. Wait, I'm one of them. I hate myself.
So
how are you guys doing? What's going on, D-Train? It sounds like you've slipped hard into the Mountain Dew lifestyle again.
Actually, it's been Coke. I'm back on the Coke, man. No, my Carrie her diet's completely gone to shit in the last month and a half, but she has literally not gained a single pound. She hasn't ran. She hasn't done any sort of exercise. Carbs are back on the diet, and she hasn't gained a single pound. And it's
That's cool.
cool for her, not for me. I'm got potato chips, not crap in here. And I was supposed to go run tonight, but I fell asleep and took a nap. I haven't ran in like 3 days, but you know,
Not when you get old.
what's that?
Yeah, Don and I was playing Call of Duty. He was just talking about his big plans to go running, and there was even a discussion on how many days he's missed
3.
and this and that. And it's 3, evidently, is what it was settled on. But
1, 2, 3.
what took you out of the run? Just everything going on, or did you injure
Well,
yourself?
I knew we had to. No, the last 2 days I've been working on my daughter's car.
Okay,
You know, it's funny. Last 2
this
days,
is daughter number 1, obviously,
I
right?
manually swapped out the alternator on my daughter's car. Yet I paid someone to change the oil in my truck this morning. Figure that one out. Well, the thing is,
Why you got to show off?
well, it's not that I'm showing off. It's good. Well, I am showing off because I have a friend who runs a mechanic shop, and he charges me retail for the oil and doesn't charge me labor. And so, hey, if you can get the oil change done in your car and not have to dispose of it and deal with it and get all dirty and do it in your driveway for the same as the price of the oil at the store, then absolutely get it done. But no, Katie needed a new alternator on her car, and I went over there. And we all know how it is. Anytime you work on your car yourself, there's always that one Jesus screw.
Okay.
You familiar with the concept of the Jesus screw?
Now, Jesus, how am I going to get this off?
Well, yeah, it takes a miracle to get the damn thing off.
Yeah.
And so the bottom one, the actual, anybody's ever changed an alternator, the top screw basically just holds it up. The bottom one's actually a hinge point. It's a bolt that actually acts as a hinge. And that one, whoever put it on, used like an impact wrench. And so as we started to take the ratchet, it started to round off. And I stopped right away. I was like, nope. And I knew that they make these newfangled ratchets and socket kits that are designed for rounded off heads. You see them on the TV all the time. And so I quickly hopped online. I found them. Irwin makes one. And so I went down to the Blue Big Box store for home
How
improvement.
busy was the Blue Big Box store since you were there?
The Blue Big Box home improvement store wasn't too busy. Not any more busy than a Publix or your grocery store. But they didn't have the kit. They sold the brand, Irwin, but they didn't have the kit.
Oh, yeah,
The Orange Big Box store is closed completely. I don't know if they...
What?
Yeah, they're not open at all.
Oh, no. Our we got dueling hardware big box stores going on here,
And so...
and they are packed.
And so since the Blue Big Box store didn't have it, I went to the equivalent of a Kmart tool store.
You more like Odd Lots, right?
Yeah, the maroon one, Harbor Freight and Tool.
Yeah.
And they had it. And so
Okay.
so I bought the next day because we're running out of sunlight. So that was on Tuesday. Oh, no, Wednesday. Yeah, that was
Would that be
on-
a Pittsburgh brand by chance?
Yeah. I don't know. But anyhow, I bought the kit and it worked great. It worked as advertised. It's so funny because the socket went on, the bolt came out, and I couldn't get the socket out. So then I put the socket with the bolt in a pipe and took a screwdriver and hit it from the top, and the damn thing would not release. I had to take it, put it back in the alternator after it was removed, screw it back in, pop the ratchet off. So it would not. But anyhow,
Get a name of Jesus and say release.
well, that went fine. The
Okay.
new alternator, I had to hit it on the block wood because the forks were a little tight. But anyhow, I got it on.
Okay.
So we get it all wired up. We got a Hayes book. She did a good job. I've always taught her every car you have, if you intend on working on it, go get a Hayes book. And the cool thing is when you sell the car, you can turn around and sell the Hayes book on eBay for $10 because they still retail for $30 and someone will buy it. I've sold every Hayes book I've ever owned.
You know, I know I'm known as an asshole, but when I sell a car used and I've got the manual, like I kind of just throw it in.
That's a bonus value. You don't just give that away.
Well, I'm actually, even though I'm an asshole, I'm actually a good guy.
I don't know. What would
Now
you do?
who's
Would
the
you sell it,
asshole?
Gary, or would you keep the book and make a little profit off eBay?
I'm all about profit, my guy.
Yeah, see, there's nothing wrong with a little capitalism in this world, you
Well,
know.
you throw
Hey, Gordon,
extra
do me a favor.
$10 on
Turn
that.
your mic down a little bit, and then that way I can turn your whole signal because you and Gary come in at the
Okay.
same time, and since you have a fancy studio mic and he's using an in-air mic, you're a little louder than he is. So if you turn yours physically down, then I can turn the whole
Is that
channel
better?
up.
Is that better?
Yeah, and you guys can match, and you're
Okay.
not competing.
Well, I may have a fancy mic, studio mic, but I've got a computer that evidently can't do the phony background. It said I don't have enough
Gordon's
resources.
computer is so low on resources, it doesn't support the Zoom virtual background where it puts a picture of the Golden Gate Bridge behind him.
God damn.
But anyhow,
Video card from like 10
No wonder I
years ago.
struggle editing
he's
videos.
got like a 32 meg PCI video card on his laptop. But anyhow, back to the story at hand real quick.
But hey, I got 12 gigs of RAM, which is nothing these days.
So we get in the Hayes book, right? And we're looking at the serpentine, because, the biggest pain in the ass in all these things is getting damn serpentine belt back on, right?
Right. Yep.
And this is a front-wheel drive car, so that means the engine's in sideways, which means you're competing with the AC and the wheel well. And so you really don't get a good view. So you're heavily relying on that diagram and the touch and feel. And so I'm in there and I'm putting it down according to this diagram. I'm like, this is not the right diagram. I'm like, well, it's in the book. I said, well, if this is the right diagram, your serpentine belt grew 18 inches last night because there was way too much slack. And so we try. We get on Google, 2004 Toyota Corolla SE, and it's all the same diagram. And so we're out there, and I'm telling them, it's not. I'm on the ground holding on the bottom. They're trying. There's three of us, right? Three grown adult, well, one 40-year-old and two 20-year-olds trying to get this serpentine belt on. And I'm like, we need somebody way smarter than me because I'm telling you, this is not the right diagram. It wasn't until we found this video that somebody made on YouTube. The second video, keep in mind, we have a Hayes book with two diagrams, both of them are wrong. Every single image on Google, when you type up the 2004 Toyota Camry, Toyota Corolla SE, shows the exact same diagram that's in this Hayes book. And you're
thinking there's something up with
the layout.
Right?
I'm like, was the engine swapped out on the son of a bitch at some point? Because she bought it used. It's got. But long story short, she found this video and the guy's, let me draw out the diagram. I was like, well, fast forward to that. He drew the diagram. It was the exact same diagram that she had and I was right. It didn't match the one in the book, and it didn't match because I did his diagram and got it done in 10 minutes. So I was out there for an hour and a half trying to get the serpentine belt on before I found the right diagram that some guy drew on a piece of notebook paper on YouTube, even though we have a Hayes book and Google at our fingertips, and couldn't get the job done. It was so fucking frustrated. I'm just covered in grease. I mean, I'm literally laying on the engine block, got my left hand down behind the block trying to hold it on, got my right one up in front. It was just, and I'm like, this is so stupid.
Did you literally kick all the cats? Is that what happened? All that? I mean,
yeah, I'm thinking so. I'm thinking he's also thinking, I mean, wish this was an old Volkswagen Bug I was working on right now, not a goddamn Corolla.
Put it up on jack stands, pull the whole damn engine out, and be done with it. Well, there is no serpentine belt. Well, yeah, there's a little one, but yeah, because it's air cooled, you're not trying to power, and you're not trying to run a power steering pump. You're not running a water pump or an AC pump. You just got to run your alternator. But yeah, it's like, it was so fucking frustrating. And I still have grease and oil on my hands, and it's just like, oh.
D-Train, I've got to ask.
Mm-hmm.
How'd you get the fresh cut with everything closed?
Got to know people, man. I went to a speakeasy.
A speakeasy. Huh?
Obviously,
Now,
I got to be super vague because I don't want to get anybody in trouble. But yeah,
you know a guy who knows a guy?
I basically just, it was literally go here, walk down this alley, do a little hand signal to this homeless guy. He'll direct you to the way. They put a blindfold on me. Went down a flight of stairs. I had to do the shave and a haircut 2 bits on the door. A little thing open up. I had to say, the crow flies at midnight to the east, and it's a North American swallow, not a South American swallow. The whole thing, and they open you up, and there's people in there with masks on, cutting hair because they've all been out of work for 2 months. They're like, we can't afford this anymore. We need to get shit done. So it was straight up.
And just think what the governments and the counties and cities are leaving all this money on the table right now that they're not getting any revenue on from a tax standpoint. So it's boosting the underground businesses.
Well, it's crazy because I do, since Melody passed away, one of my jobs at Computers now is I do the payroll, the bookkeeping, everything.
Right.
And so we're a month into this, and I'm in QuickBooks, a little red exclamation point. Time to pay your payroll tax. So the government shut everything down, but they're still expecting their payroll tax revenue to get paid on time.
Classic.
No, fortunately, there's probably less of that to pay right now. A little.
Now, this whole COVID-19 thing, it's kind of a nice dry run if you want to see whose politicians want to do the power grab with the least a bit of, craziness going on. I mean, we all know about what's going on in Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
That one's completely insane. California is at the point now where you have the mayor of Huntington Beach speaking out against the governor of the entire, state. And it's just like things are getting crazy. And I had that clip, and I don't know where did I put it.
Well, that's just it. I mean, right or wrong, citizens of this country is not going to put up with it for very long. Um,
Well, and we kind of got a good aspect here. You're in Vegas. Has anything
Oh, yeah.
seemed to have changed lately in the last 2 weeks or last week since we've last talked?
let's see. They've opened up marijuana dispensaries to curbside delivery, so but nothing else. There's nothing else. There's maybe some retails are opening up to curbside, which is kind of weird. A little more restaurants are doing it. I think they've kind of evolved, but man, no, it's that was the big. Oh, something did change. I am sorry. Clark County, Nevada Park and Recreational Department has opened the pickleball courts.
Oh shit!
Huge news yesterday. Pickleball,
Then
which I didn't know what it was. I had to kind of look at it, and
It's like a mix between racquetball and tennis.
yeah, pretty much.
It's
Um,
it was huge down here in 08. So basically, what you're saying, everything's back to normal in Vegas. And now that the pickleball courts are open, the casinos will be open next week, right?
Well, I tell you, I wish I had my bike still, because one thing that is going on is a lot of people are biking the strip, which would be pretty cool. And if I had that full suspension frame and was back in the shape, be some fun stairs.
Now,
know.
Gary, you're just a little bit south from our fine friends up north and in the Ooper and Michigan. What's things like going on in Ohio right now?
Nothing much has changed since I last talked to you guys. Actually, I mean, there's been a few more restrictions, like the Orange big box store has only letting so many people in, so there's always a line out front before you get in. So you have to wait till one person gets out, they click, you can go in. Walmart's kind of done the same thing, but less restrictive because it's obviously way bigger. Other than that, stuff's going to start opening up back here. I think on the 14th, some retailers are going to start opening back up here in Ohio. Ones that's like Best Buy, things like that, I believe. But nothing much has changed really yet.
You know, I understand people getting annoyed with the amount of crowds at the Orange Box and the Blue Box store. Well, this isn't essential to paint your house. But when is the last time you had a month to sit around your house and check off things from that honey-do list?
Oh, you're stuck. You have no choice.
Yeah. And for those of you who are, you listen to this podcast, you watch this podcast every week, a while back I was talking about how Nugget's LED panel went out on her ceiling fan in her bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
And then the whole motor just seized up.
Exactly.
And so she's been sleeping with my oscillating fan out of my garage. It's all covered in cobwebs and funk that's usually out there to cool down the garage, like literally an inch and a half from her bed. And she needs a new ceiling fan, but let's be honest. Why would I buy my child a new ceiling fan?
Yeah, you should buy yourself that new ceiling fan, right?
Ding, ding, ding. You, sir, are a winner.
And who's the asshole?
And so I went over to the big Blue Box store and I bought myself a nice Hunter fan that was marked down to a cool $89 from $150. It's a 53-inch fan in my bedroom. Hell yeah.
Well, it's funny. I probably overkill it, but in our bedroom we have one Honeywell humidifier because it's dry as shit out here. We got a ceiling fan and two oscillating tower fans.
Gary's like holding my beer. I got one of those big ass fans like you see on those car overhauling commercials. Have you ever seen those? The big ass fan company.
I've installed them.
Yeah, they actually have a donkey on it. They had one at our country bar above the line dancing floor. But
you actually have to get a structural contractor to go in and fur up and firm up the members that it hangs.
You have to put fucking turnbuckles on the thing to keep it from moving. It's like having a freaking airplane prop mounted above your head, but instead of 3 blades, there's like 6.
Yeah. Man, if I could only get that above my bed.
But anyhow, real quick, so I took my son, and you guys can see the quick abbreviated version of this built in one of the What's the Scuttlebutt videos I put up on our YouTube channel. But yeah, I took down my ceiling fan, which was the exact replica of the one that was in her room, because we bought our house flipped, and so all of our, with the exception of the ceiling fan in the living room, which they couldn't bother to hook the remote control up to. Mm-hmm. So after I bought the house, I had to rewire it and put the receiver in so that I can turn the light off and on. But anyhow, so I took the fan out of my bedroom, put it up in hers, and then put the new one up in my bedroom. So I got that off the list. And the other thing we've been wanting to do for the last 3 years is Carrie is very, very, she's bougie when it comes to Xbox. She's one of those people who was a firm believer that the smallest amount of ping count can greatly affect her Overwatch gaming. And so for the last 3 years, where the rest of us are wireless, she has to be hardwired with a Cat 6 cable running from the podcast studio across the living room floor to her Xbox,
Don't trust wireless. You gotta hardwire me in.
which looks ugly as hell. It looks trashy as shit, but you know,
Call a low voltage company to take care of that.
yeah, if I only knew a guy. The problem is here in Florida we don't have basements, and all of
Okay.
our AC equipment's up in the attic, and so to get in the attic, and I got cathedral ceilings, so it's just a big, and not to mention the fact
You
it's-
don't want to put wire mold everywhere?
yeah, right. That's a good look. And not to mention the fact it's going to be 123 degrees in the goddamn attic during the summertime. But anyhow, long story short, it was raining one day and it was a cool 74 degrees out. So I quickly got up in the attic and I ran. I basically tracked down the coax cable running down the wall for my internet, and I dropped Cat 6 down, swapped out the faceplate, put a dual faceplate on there. Ran the other end down the wall to behind the TV, and so now she's hardwired, but I don't have the white trash Cat 6 cable, 150 feet of it running across my house. One, we did it for the appearance, but two, as you all know from last week, we have a 3-month-old Boston Terrier running around the house, and the last thing we want to do is tune up some Cat 5 cable.
God damn it, you dogs, you need to quit running around the house. You're going to pull the cable right out of the back of the Xbox.
No, it's not the Boston Terrier. It's the 12-year-old child who doesn't watch where she's walking because the her bedroom's right across from the podcast studio, and so that cord basically runs across the threshold of the hallway, and so she's tripped over it umpteen times, and so it was more to protect her than it was to protect
You
our
mean
dog.
you haven't taught her to stare at her feet when she walks like the rest of the family?
Don't want to
Dude.
trip like a cartoon.
It's at the point where I almost can't allow her in a podcast studio because right here in front of me there's wires going across to the cable modem. There's power cords, there's UPSs, there's mic. No, it's like I'd rather have the puppy in here than her.
So she would be like a cat in a ball of yarn.
She just doesn't watch where she's walking. She'll be out in the garage tripping over shit. It's like, child,
Shit talking his daughter.
I'm allowed. What am I going to do?
It's what's in your head, man. I get it. It is front and center, man.
Big shout out to OG5, Anthony Troyer. Not only is OG5, not only is he a Patreon member, but he utilizes our sponsors. Anthony had a pretty sweet MSI gaming laptop with 3 cooling fans inside that one of them went bad, and so I bought a whole new fan kit, and he brought it down at Computers, and we quickly got all his cooling fans replaced inside his laptop, so he's back up in gaming. And so I just want to thank him for utilizing our sponsor, our only sponsor here at the Digital 410 Network, Act Computers. And if you need help, whether you're here locally or remotely, we can help you either way. Give them a call at 239-283-1120 or go to act-capecoral.com. And I've been saying this since the COVID thing started. Everybody started working at home, and now you're hearing it worked into the LifeLock spots and this and that, talking about hacking's up, malware's up, encryption's up, the encryption virus. Act Computers can help protect you from all those things. If your company is insistent on using something like remote desktop, we can hook you up with Duo 2-form authentication. A more secure way we can do is a software that's similar to a Go to My PC or a Log Me In. It's called Splashtop. It's actually the same software I will use to log into your computer to fix it, but we can actually set that up so you can use your own version of it to log into your work computers. But more importantly, they can help you back up all your data safely online so that if your server or one of your computers does get the encryption malware virus nonsense that's destroying the planet right now, right next to COVID-19, all your data will be safe up in the cloud. So give them a call, and that's 7 cents a gig per month. That's pretty damn cheap. I don't think you'll find any data backup that cheap anywhere else. And if you do, well, I guess go with the other company. But give them a call at 239-283-1120. That's Act Computers. And Act Computers is the core and primary sponsor, with the exception of our friends over at Patreon. If you want to become a member of the OG5, you can go to d-410.com, click on the big, beautiful orange Patreon banner, and sign up. It's $1 a month. There's 2 other plans, but hey, we're all broke. I want to get into those. And you get free access. I just went on Patreon the other day, said, who wants some stickers? I got some more stickers. I'm sending out some more OG5 stickers. But we want to hear from you. We want to know what's going on in your COVID-19 life. Give us a call at 239-232-4419. Interestingly enough, the other night, my cable and my TV went out.
Did it now? How did you guys suffer through that?
Well, we're big Xbox fans here in the old house.
Mm-hmm.
And I got this new game called, I don't know if you've ever heard of it, it's called Modern Warfare Warzone. And I was like, well, I'll just play campaign mode. Problem solved. No.
Eh.
Need internet access because there's a missing 18 gig update. Well, shit. Okay, well, I'll play Far Cry. Nah, you need a... Long story short, we have our Xboxes set up with Game Share, and so whenever Carrie buys a game, I get it and vice versa. Well, because since I don't have internet, it doesn't have a way to authenticate to see which console it was purchased on, so I couldn't play any game at all. So that
Okay.
sucked, except for maybe Sims 4, but I wasn't down for that cause. And so I called up the internet provider, went through all the steps. Long story short, nothing worked. And so that was the night before I ran the line. And so wouldn't you know it, I'm up in the attic running the line. The Comcast guy comes. And of course, he won't come in the house at all. And long story short, since, well, here's a guy up in his house running wire and his internet. Basically, he thought I fucked up the internet. Even though it'd been out for 18 hours at this point, and the running of the wire was a 20-minute job, and not to mention that I'm an IT guy. I've been doing it since 2004. But I'm not kidding you. As soon as I got the wire ran, as soon as he pulled up, the shit came back up.
So he went away feeling like a hero.
Well, I think what it was, and he ended up replacing it, they basically down here, because up until recently, doing this type of work, I'd always find when people's TV worked but the internet went out, it's because one of the splitters went bad because all the wires are daisy chained from room to room in the wall.
Right.
And so one of the things they do to help prevent that now is they amplify all the signals. And so there's an amplifier somewhere in your house, and then usually behind your TV, there is a jack that plugs into your wall that a coax cable comes out of, goes into a splitter to help amplify the signal. So he replaced that amplifier that plugs in the wall and the one that's mounted outside. But no, it's just like, Carrie's like, I don't think he believes us. I was like, I don't give a shit. He's here. He's going to get it fixed. I mean, what do you want me to tell you? I mean, I'm telling you, I'm an IT guy. While you're standing here, I got an entire box of freaking Cat 6 mod ends, RJ45, Keystone jacks, wall plates, and all this crap. You know, what do you want me to say? The shit's been down for 18 hours. I haven't been working on this wiring job for that long. It's a 20-minute gig. But it just goes to show you.
Exactly. So Don, you watch you've been known to watch a little YouTube from time to time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Have you noticed on a trending video we're seeing what people's doing with their toilet paper
I mean, having dogs jump it.
and cats?
Have you seen these videos, Gary?
Oh yeah.
Now,
Holy cow.
I don't want to be that guy, but today was the first day Carrie's gone to the grocery store since this whole thing started because she has lupus, and we've been concerned about her, you know, having a compromised immune system, being out amongst the world doing all this crazy stuff.
Right.
And so she went out today, and she came back, and she said, did you know that toilet paper is still nowhere to be found at Publix?
I took a picture of a lone roll of toilet paper on a sidewalk here in Las Vegas today.
Well, the reason I bring that up, isn't it? Now, I'm sure a lot of these videos were pre-recorded, and maybe that's why now they're showing up on all our channels, because we're living vicariously through a YouTube channel of the days when toilet paper was aplenty, that you could have your Labradoodle jumping over 6 feet of it in your living room. But
you can't tell me that you haven't been tempted to set up some, if you've got it, to see what the little one would do.
I mean, that's
Feel
just
bad
like,
for your toilet paper supply over there. We're flush with it here.
well,
Yeah, we are too.
you know what
Yeah,
I think
flush.
it is? Well, one, I know another place. All I gotta do is go talk to the manager, and she can get me some toilet paper. But I honestly think a lot of it has to do with they're still doing the open an hour and a half early for the seniors, and I think they go in there and buy it all up because since
I need my shit paper.
hey, you damn kids, get off my toilet paper! Why can't you just buy fucking adult diapers and leave the toilet paper to us?
Exactly.
Can we acknowledge that not only does Don have a haircut guy, but he's also got a toilet paper guy. So
Hey,
He's got a couple of guys.
you don't work in radio.
connected.
You don't work in radio for 5.5 years and not get a haircut guy and a toilet paper guy. I mean, you don't get much anything else, but at least I got two guys. And I got actually, the funny thing is the guy whose computer I fixed today, he's the guy who brought down like the metric ton of fresh potatoes down to Stan Haney's when I worked down there. So I got a potato guy too, which comes.
Man, a potato guy.
Yeah, not everybody has a potato guy.
My Irish sense is tingling.
There you go.
You brought up but yes, there's these cute videos of this what is that, Labradoodle or something.
I don't know. There's so many out there that I just shot you a few. I'm like, Jesus Christ, these are everywhere.
Now we know Gary has like 2,000 YouTube subscribers with one video, but this brings up a great topic I wanted to talk about, but you guys can't really contribute because you really don't post your own original YouTube videos on your Facebook. But I want to get into a little conspiracy theory here, if we don't mind.
Oh, I'm all
Let
about
me.
that.
God damn! I don't have my tinfoil hat near me. Oh
You're
well.
supposed to have the import-export Steve Faraday cage hat. You're still going with the tinfoil?
Well, import export Steve has failed me.
Well,
I
I got
ordered
my
it.
invisible
I never
Alex
got it.
Jones hat on.
You got your visible Alex Jones hat. Well, let's be honest though. If
Yeah.
import-export Steve was
Wake up.
reliable and dependable, he wouldn't be doing the type of work that he does. It's not that he has
Well-
a love for shady work. But anyhow,
Right.
as y'all know, I've been berating you, begging you, pleading you, begging, trying to get everybody to join my YouTube channel. And what
Mhm.
some of you know is I share videos on our Facebook page. Now, here's an interesting concept. Every week we do these Facebook live streams, and they're also YouTube, Periscope. And within 24 hours, this video will get anywhere between 187 views to 300 within
Yeah.
24 hours, which is a pretty good number. And then throughout the week, obviously, the number grows. And if anybody has a public Facebook page, they know you use an app called the Facebook Manager app. And as you scroll down, it'll say 137 people saw this post. Not saying that they clicked on it or liked, but it just meant that that post showed up on 137 people's timelines since you've posted it, or 500 or 1,000 or what have you, right?
137 people scrolled quickly past this post.
Correct.
Okay.
And so I'm like, why aren't my videos, my YouTube videos, getting any views on them?
Okay.
And so I'm scrolling through my timeline, and here's a meme that I shared yesterday, 20 minutes ago, or an hour and a half ago. 337 people have seen this meme. Okay, scrolling through. Here's a news story I shared. 500 people have seen this. Here's a video that I shared yesterday. 18 people have seen this video. Not watched it, but it showed up on 18 people's timelines. I'm like, well, that's weird. And I got to thinking.
That is weird.
Got to scratching. Got to doing some research. Now, I couldn't find my exact conspiracy or hypothesis, but I did find a little interesting article that's talking about how Facebook, and for those of you who don't know, they either still do or I know they originally do, but are they still the active owner of Instagram, Gary?
I believe there.
Who, Facebook?
Yes.
Yes, they are.
So Facebook owns Facebook, obviously, and Instagram. And Instagram, about 6 months ago, launched a thing called IGTV. Previous to the launch of IGTV, you can only upload a video to Instagram that was 30 seconds long. And so what they do now is you can upload the full version to IGTV. It'll post a 30-second shortcut on your Instagram page, and when somebody's watching, it gets to 28 seconds, watch the rest of the video, then it switches over to the IGTV app. And this article is explaining about how, and a lot of you probably don't know this, Facebook has video monetization. I'm currently working, for example, the What's in Your Head podcast. It only has, we keep floundering close to 500 likes. Much like YouTube, you have to have 1,000 subscribers to get monetized. My D-Train Facebook page has $14.99. Every time I get the 1502, I piss people off and they leave me. I'm constantly staying at $14.99. And so I'm trying to figure out how to swap that, but that's another story for another time. But I'm reading this article talking about how, despite their best efforts, Instagram and Facebook have failed miserably at getting people to utilize their built-in video service. And so this is where the conspiracy comes in. So I share a picture of my dog in 20 minutes. 400 people, it's been on 400 timelines. Not 400 people's clicked on it, liked it, or whatever, but 400 people have visually scrolled past it, as Gordon so lovingly pointed out. But a video that I posted of my YouTube yesterday has 5 people have seen it. And I got to thinking, you have this huge company, Facebook. We know the younger demographic is going over to TikTok. We had Larry Venturino on 2 weeks ago talking about how his video went to 9 million likes, and then after it went to 9 million, all his videos stopped showing up on the homepage for TikTok. Even prior to the 9 million, he had some that were getting like 500,000, and he'd go on TikTok and he would be in the trending section and all that. And he's actually gotten to a point now where he's saying he's being shadow banned and he had to start a new TikTok page. And his hypothesis is because TikTok, their core demographic are young kids and young adults, and they don't want some 42-year-old dad on there, because that's why kids stopped going on Facebook, because it became uncool because there's too many old people on there.
These olds are ruining our platforms.
Exactly. And so I got to thinking, well, if you're Facebook, you already have young kids no longer signing up. They're going to TikTok and Instagram. But your live stream stuff, it's not picking up as well as you wanted it to. Instagram's suffering. Why would you send potential video viewers to your competition? So what I'm getting at is I think unless you pay to promote it, I think that and I'm sure there's other people out there who have a better, who have a pretty good YouTube following who post their videos on their Facebook page can answer this for me. I think they intentionally don't share those videos because they don't want people going over to their platform paying their advertisers. Because why is it when this video streams live right now on Facebook, Facebook shares it with my timeline? But if here's a better example, and this kind of puts the finer point on it. So we know that when we live stream these, usually within 24 hours, get between 182 to 200 views. Remember 2 weeks ago when we had Larry on and the whole system was down, so we pre-recorded the video?
Correct.
And then I uploaded a shortened version because we took out when the mics were sounding like crap. So instead of like an hour-long video, it was like a 45-minute video. I uploaded that one to YouTube, shared the link directly to Facebook, and within a week, it had 35 people have seen this video. So when it's streaming live through Facebook's streaming service live, within 24 hours, 182 people will have seen it. But when it's uploaded to YouTube and shared directly over a week, 32 people have seen it. Same video, same Facebook page, same platform.
Yep. Something's amiss.
It's not a miss. They just don't want to send people over to YouTube so their advertisers make revenue money.
Yep.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I mean,
there's a lot of full-time YouTubers right now just getting bent over a barrel, and they're having a rough time making a living anymore. That's why they're diversifying themselves, going to TikTok, going to Instagram, going to Storyfire is another big one. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of that. But,
nope.
Storyfire was started by a famous YouTuber named McJuggernuggets.
Okay.
Really famous. I mean, dude had millions of subscribers, and he started getting bent over a barrel, and he's like, I'm gonna go find someone with some money and start my own streaming service. And they did, and it's doing fairly well, I guess, with certain story-based content creators. But yeah, I mean, YouTube is it's horrible. Google.
Yeah, I hear that AdSense is not the way to make the money anymore. A lot of them are actually getting, just like radio and podcasts, are getting sponsors for the video.
Yeah, but the hard thing about that is if you don't have the 2 million views and 2 million subscribers, you're not going to get Simply Safe is not going to sponsor your videos.
Right.
And so, and that's kind of like what Gary is saying. You have to diversify it. And I remember one of the conversations Dave and I used to have. He's like, well, I think you're putting the video on too many platforms. We're not going to get enough views on a single one. I'm like, well, right now, I just want to get it out to all the audiences.
Yeah, we're taking the shotgun approach.
I'm broadcasting. I'm simulcasting. Right now, we're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. We used to be on Twitch, but no one watched on Twitch. And we're on Periscope. And then once the live stream is done, I take it and I send it over to the Utah Gun Exchange, which our views over there tripled last week. So I'm super excited about that. But no, it's just, and it's so crazy right now. And, and we've talked about this before, and Gordon agrees with me. Podcast in 2020 is the garage band of the 1980s. Anybody who had a guitar and a drum kit wanted to start a garage band.
Well, hell, even broadcasting on national TV is getting that way.
Well, and that's my point. Before this happened, you have all these podcast people who do this from home, and they're getting into the live stream like we've been doing for over a year. And now that COVID-19 is happening, you got Jimmy Kimmel basically doing what we're doing from his house. It's just he's going to NBC or CBS and being broadcasted over their waves. And so now you got more people into this. And so, it's even more competition now.
Yeah.
It's just like, you're like, well, it's too little too late, but you just got to keep trucking along and hopefully the views to pick up and get going.
Exactly. So do you watch Live PD at all?
I did for a while. I don't watch it religiously.
My buddy was on it when they were here in Franklin County. They followed him around.
Awesome. That is awesome. So one thing
hold up. He followed them around or they followed him around?
Well, he's a canine for Franklin County Sheriff's Office.
Oh, okay. There you go.
He was one of their main guys that they followed around.
By the way, Mark Marzika is on the Facebook live stream, and he is thrilled to see you on the show tonight, Gary.
Martin, how you doing, bud?
Well, one of the things I wanted to bring up is I'm watching the backgrounds of the host, and Daniel Abrams, he's the main host of the show. He's got this sketchy, old-looking stairway behind him. It looks like he's in a crappy apartment somewhere, and I'm looking at him like, that's a fake background. Why would he choose that? You could tell by the cut around him, that it's kind of pasted in there, and then the size of the handrail versus the size of his head's just off. And I'm like, why would he choose that?
Because
as crappy as my background is, it's not that bad. And this is not a national.
well, Gary has a keen eye, and I know he tunes in and things like this. When this whole thing started, people were just kind of like in their kitchen or whatever.
Mhm.
But now they're like starting to have like background and set designers come in and like set up their quote unquote office at just like, oh, I'm a Republican, so now here's a picture of the old school American flag that has some constitutional books. They're starting to theme their rooms around their
Right.
personality that they're trying to project, and
Yeah.
chances are he probably has, his wife's needlepoint up on the wall or something, and he hasn't gotten to the point where they're having a background set designer come in and set up his room to reflect, having law books or whatever. And I started noticing, I'm like, oh, I wonder if those books were on that shelf 2 weeks ago. I
Probably
bet they
not.
weren't.
They're jamming up all their furniture behind them. They have it set a certain way, so it looks odd when you probably walk into the house. But I mean, yeah, shit, ours is a mess. We've got water bottle cases everywhere and everything else. So I guess I get it, but it was just, I noticed, I was like, why would they pick that? And it almost, again, it looks green screened in. I could be wrong,
Mm-hmm.
but it really does. And I just don't get it. But yeah.
Gary, you said you had a few things you wanted to bring up, and last time you were on, we kind of squozed you out a little bit, so I want to make sure that we have time to go over some of the topics you want to talk about tonight.
Sure, man. Well, I actually got a couple. First one being kind of some major news that were kind of shoved to the side because of all the COVID whatnot. It's kind of old news, but it became new again because the Pentagon released some authentic UFO footage.
I saw that.
Now, this footage was originally released. Actually, let me pull up my data so I'm not speaking out of turn here. Back in December of 2017.
Were they Navy pilots?
Yes.
They were Navy pilots, but the footage itself was released by the lead singer of Blink 182, who owns his own little conspiracy company on UFOs.
Mm-hmm.
Believe it or not, he's the one that originally leaked the footage.
Okay.
But now the Pentagon has released it officially, and a great story behind this. The Navy pilot that took some of the footage, his name is Commander David Fravor, and get it off of there, man.
You can stop.
God,
I'm the asshole. Just remember that.
But there's a great interview with Joe Rogan on his podcast with Commander Fravor, and he kind of goes through each piece of footage, explains exactly what happened. The one piece is really great. He's showing the infrared footage, explaining how the radar cannot actually see these objects that they're literally looking at,
Wow.
and explaining that the objects are actually actively jamming the Navy pilots that are scoring in on them. So
Okay.
active jamming means intelligence behind it.
Absolutely.
So
Where's-
it's not
Insert jam the radar drop.
We are jamming the radar.
right.
Jam. Raspberry.
Exactly.
Only one man uses raspberry. Lone Star. And,
So it's amazing. It's incredible.
and
Is this
now
what they refer to as Tic Tacs?
Yeah, the little Tic Tac guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
well, and the crazy thing is these unidentified objects are pulling maneuvers that, unless you have some weird unseen before pressurization system in the cab or the cockpit of these flying vessels, no human could stay conscious during these
Right.
type of maneuvers from the G-forces.
Yeah, there's this one piece of footage that's being zoned in from an F-22. So this actually wasn't the Navy, because the Navy doesn't fly F-22s, but this video pod shows it, and it basically he was saying it could zone in on the acceleration of a SR-71
Mm-hmm.
and keep a hold of it in the frame, but this thing was going so fast it went out of frame within 2 seconds.
That's the Aurora project. We know
From
what it is.
from a standstill to that fast, it's
Oh, yeah.
something that can't happen. It's a human would be liquefied at that speed.
That stuff captures my imagination. A lot of times when I find myself thinking is, if it is something, is it aliens or is it people traveling back in time?
Could be
You
either.
know?
Well, and I think Gary's point and everybody else's point is the world's gotten so crazy that, a short year ago, you had people threatening to raid Area 51 to get the truth about the potential of aliens existing. And here we are, and basically the Pentagon just came out and said, yeah, this footage is not doctored. It's real footage. We have no idea what it is. Draw your own conclusions. And it gets no more than a Facebook meme as far as media coverage or people's attention.
Yeah,
Right.
it's turned into a TIE fighter, right?
Right.
It's just crazy. It
Yeah,
kind
it
of
is.
and kind of going back, I found the audio clip I wanted to play.
Okay.
The world's going crazy when there's protests in California.
What are we protesting?
They're
Well, we're
protesting about
protesting now.
all the closures that are going
Okay.
down. I mean, and then when you have the mayor of Huntington Beach on Fox News of all places, kind of not exactly being rude to the governor of California, but kind of saying, "Hey, your facts are wrong, and why didn't you contact us?" Here, it's a quick 3 minutes, and we won't play the whole 3 minutes, but here it is. Well, there it was. Oh, I turned it down. Hold on. Get your shit together, Don.
Will O'Neill is the mayor of Newport Beach, California. He's not obeying, or at least denouncing, Gavin Newsom's order to close the beaches in Southern California. He says it's unreasonable and against science. Mayor O'Neill joins us tonight. Mr. Mayor, thanks so much for coming on. So,
Thank you, Tucker.
as I understand it from the other coast, your governor has said, people have told me with advanced science degrees that beaches in Orange County should be closed, and you must do it now.
He's
What's
an
your
asshole,
reaction
sir.
to this?
Yesterday, Governor Gavin Newsom closed 43 miles of Orange County beaches, not because of data, but because of politics. And how do I know that? Because here's the data. Orange County has 3.2 million people who live here. It's bigger than 22 states, bigger than states like Nevada, Mississippi, Iowa. And of all of those people, we've lost 50 people to this virus. That's 0.001% of our population. In our local hospital, we have 475 beds. They have never treated more than 25 people at any given time. And yesterday, they had 9 people that they were treating, and only 1% of their ventilators were being used. And this beach closure idea to keep people safe, it's been tried in Los Angeles County. They have closed their beaches up there for over 30 days now, and the results just haven't borne out. Every single city that is along the coast in Los Angeles has a higher per capita COVID rate than every open beach community in Orange County. And let's talk about San Diego for just a second. They've got over 2 times the number of people who have died because of this virus than Orange County, but their beaches are open. This has nothing to do with data, and it has everything to do with politics. And I agree. I think what our governor did was he looked at photographs that were showing a mile of beach condensed into about a meter. It looked like everyone was on top of each other. But he should have called me. I'm the mayor of Newport Beach, and he should have asked me what we were seeing on the ground. And I would have told him. Our police chief, our fire chief, our lifeguards, even our local sheriffs all said universally, the vast majority of people, they were families on the beach. They were social distancing. But of course, there were people who weren't. So they got to spend some time talking to our law enforcement about making sure they understood what social distancing really means. Our governor should have fought beside us. He should have fought against this national narrative. Instead, the first time we heard from our governor was yesterday, last night, when he had someone from his office call us and tell us, your beaches are closed.
It's been a month. It's the first time I heard from him. Hold on.
So he
Hold
has
on.
no problem ignoring federal immigration law. Do you think that he'll enforce this order? If you kept your beaches open, what do you think would happen?
Well, our local sheriff has already said he has no intention of enforcing this. And so the question at that point is, what will the governor do? And I'll tell you, Tucker, I have to say, my dad has given me some great advice. He's one of my heroes. He's a former police officer. He's a retired federal judge, and I've talked to him about policy a number of times. And recently he told me, look, if it's a close call, you always go on the side of liberty, not restrictions. I don't think this should have been a close call for the governor, but if it was, I really hope he'll take my dad's advice to heart.
But a more
reverse this
important
call.
question, like you said, it's not like they're the only beach in California open.
And not to mention, that was probably B-roll from Memorial Day weekend 2 years ago.
But even if it wasn't, it's one thing if Newport Beach said, fuck it, we're the only beach in the entire state of California that's open. And then he does that. But when there's other beaches in bigger cities that are open, but he goes and shuts them down. Clearly, now as somebody who's lived in LA County and spent time in Newport and Huntington Beach, I'm sorry, I said Huntington Beach at the beginning, but it's Newport Beach, which is actually smaller but richer. And I think that's a key role. I'm sure there's a lot of very influential people who live in Newport Beach who was very concerned, rightfully or not, possibly, maybe they're just upset that, people are on their beaches again. That's one of the battles they always had down there, is whether or not private beaches should be private and all that. But I don't know, it's just one, like I said, it's pretty crazy when you got the mayor of prominent towns in California going out against the governor, especially on Fox News, because, that's usually not in their demographic. And it's never ending.
Yeah, and it is. And that's one of the things that's driving me nuts. And I know it's driving you nuts too, because the whole thing was about flattening the curve and not exceeding the capabilities of healthcare and that. And
Correct.
It's proven that it's way under the threshold. And now they've pivoted from that to we're just trying to save lives.
And did I miss that memo? Go ahead, Gary. I'm sorry.
Gary.
I thought you were getting ready to say. I thought you were trying to get a word in.
What I was going to say is then, well, why are we driving cars? Because people die every day in cars, right?
Well, no, like I said,
what about the suicide rates that are going up? And yes, these are legitimate arguments with the suicide rates and how people's being affected. Unfortunately, I think we have to find a way to live with it. I believe science, but unfortunately, science takes time.
Well, I think
and you 6 months. It's not a year. It's going to be 2 or more.
I think you brought up a very good point. I think you're kind of passing it over, which you shouldn't. And that is that I missed the memo. You're exactly right. We all agreed, whether verbally or not verbally, whether happily or not happily, that we were all going to shelter in place to slow the curve, to give the hospitals time to get all their equipment. We already know that the naval ship they sent to New York, they didn't need a whole time. I think they had 20 people on board.
Same thing with LA. Same thing with Long Beach.
So mission accomplished. We flattened the curve. Hospitals have all the equipment, and there's plenty of it. Ford's making masks. Ford's airbag departments making hospital gowns. We got people making ventilators. The FDA is fast tracking medicines, as long as it's not hyper whatever the hell it is. But hydro whatever.
You mean the medicine that's been around 70 some odd years?
Yeah, the medicine I got in my bathroom
much
because Carrie has got that subscribed to her for the last 2 years for her lupus, and she never takes it. So I'm like pandemic rich right now. I got so many malaria pills in my bathroom. But no, it's just we flatten the curve. The hospitals are, granted, New York, some of these bigger cities, they are still having problems. But that's why we have the government, which we do. That is, every state, every municipality gets to make their own choices.
Well, it's not a one-size-fits-all solution.
No, it can't be.
It can't be, and that's the problem. And now you're doing this whole mail-in voting thing, and that's just ripe for the pickings, right? That people are just going to fraud that like a son of a bitch. And if we can stand in line, at these stores, why can't we vote?
Here's what I don't get. Let's go back to 2008. Remember the whole Arizona driver license debacle?
Oh, yeah.
How the governor of Arizona thought it was racist to require, she was obviously going after the immigration populace, but she was basically saying across the board that it was voter suppression to require people to have state IDs to vote.
I thought it was a law to have a state ID.
And they didn't. She thought it was a racist to require people to have state IDs. And you're exactly right. Since I was 16, I've been pulled over as a passenger of many vehicles, particularly in Grove City, Ohio, to where I had to produce an ID to make sure I didn't have any warrants.
How do you cash a check without an ID?
I'm 41. Ever since I was 18, every time I voted, guess who had to produce ID in order to vote?
Got to prove it's you, fool.
Now, I understand. Hey, not everybody has a license. Some people are hurt on coming up with the $15-20 it costs to pay for a state ID. If you guys are, if not you guys as in the proverbial you guys, but if the politicians truly cared and they were truly concerned about people's financial well-being and the fact that they can't afford a $20 or $15 state ID, problem solved. Free state IDs for everybody.
Right.
Now it's no longer a financial issue. Well, they can't get down there. Well, then clearly, look, I'm sorry. I'm going to put this out there, but if you can't find the time to get down to the DMV or any place that issue a state ID between the hours of 9 and 5, I don't want you fucking voting anyhow. Just saying.
Damn it, you missed your Tom McDonald drop. But
Well,
yes. Fuck.
I mean, if it's that important, you're going to find a way to get there, or you're going to find a way to get an ID, or you're going to do this, you're going to do that. I mean, if
I
it's
just
not that
want
important, then
solid
don't
being
vote.
being a solid functioning adult.
Right.
More
That's all we're looking
importantly,
for.
if you don't have ID, how you buying beer?
How you buying? Yeah, I mean, beer.
Cigarettes even. or vape pens or whatever, you know.
How are you getting your medical marijuana card? I mean, just saying.
How are you getting medical coverage? I mean, you go into the urgent care, they're asking you for your ID. So
Exactly. It's just all hypocrisy.
It
And
is.
both sides are rife with it, and that's what sucks. You know, as I said, and I want to get off this politics thing, but as I said before, you know, I don't care who is in the office. I think this thing would have a very similar result, plus or minus a week or two.
Sure.
And, you know, it's like, oh no, my side would have done better. And how? That's cute, but how would you know that? You got, you know, some crystal ball that you're looking into that predicts exactly what's going to happen. You know, again, I'm not a fan of our administration at all, but you got to give people a chance. And that's what's going on. Is it just seems like anything that comes out of their mouth is automatically discounted.
he didn't
Mhm.
get a chance from day one. I mean,
Yeah,
that's the
and,
problem.
he does like to gaslight people. He does like to kind of fuck around with them a little bit. I get it.
I'm with that.
And
100%.
but people don't. They think it's legitimately how the dude feels.
But isn't it ironic that before Captain Cheeto got voted in, I particularly remember being a young 20-year-old pissed off American saying, I'm so tired of these politicians just telling people what they want to hear. We need somebody to come and say, fuck you, and tell it how it is and be a real person, talk like a real person. Well, this is the closest thing we've had thus far.
He's the biggest asshole we've had in the president's office in a long time.
Don't make me get my MAGA hat out.
Yeah, it's a shit show, and that's what's worse is everything's just so politicized. You know, you don't even know what to believe. You could go to all the news sources and you can see the obvious spin and the obvious, you know, it's negative. Oh, positive. We'll sweep that under the rug a little bit. Negative, fear, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of emotion tied to it. Just the facts. I want you guys to take both parties to task with the same kinds of tough questions.
Please.
Not beat one side up and then kiss the ass of another. I want the same type of tough questions. Joe Biden needs the same type of tough questions right now. It's kind of funny. Where
Speaking of
where
Joe
is the
Biden,
where
you
are
have
the
to see the
Go ahead.
Go
you
ahead.
have to see the clip of Nancy Pelosi being grilled about how they're treating his #MeToo situation differently than Judge Kavanaugh's situation. They say, oh, it's great. I can't give you all the details, but if you just look up Nancy Pelosi and Joe Biden, and just give that a
somebody took her
look.
to task, huh?
Oh yeah, but she's all, well, you know, we got to have due process, and
All of a sudden, well,
where was
it's her
Kavanaugh's
narrative,
due
right?
process, you know, yeah.
Was I
it's
the
her-
only one slighted, least bit disappointed to find out that it's not the same Tara Reid we were all hoping it was? I keep hearing Joe Biden sexually assaulted Tara Reid. Like, well, can you blame the guy? And then I see this Tara, like, oh, jeez,
Like
that ain't the
Big
Tara
ball
Reid I was thinking about. That ain't the
Terry
Tara.
now or Terry 2002, because there's a big difference.
Who was hotter, Tara Reid from American Pie or Tara Reid from Van Wilder?
Van Wilder.
You don't remember Van Wilder?
No, I know. I'm saying
Ryan
that's my
Reynolds' most
answer.
greatest vehicle pre
Since Deadpool.
Deadpool.
Pre Deadpool.
Yeah,
When I saw Deadpool, I'm like, this is Van Wilder with superheroes.
yeah, 100%.
But yeah, I was like, Tara Reid. And real quick, we're getting off that, but Katie, I love you, sweetheart, daughter of mine.
Oh boy.
When you came down here,
That asshole button.
when you came down here, and I helped you get your license.
He's an asshole, sir.
Yeah, I know.
How many assholes we got on this ship anyhow? Major asshole.
I'm a major asshole. But anyhow, I taught you how to drive, and it took you a few tries, and you got your license, and there was an accident shortly afterwards, and that wasn't your fault, and you've since gotten a new car, and you drive great. And there's a reason I bring this up. Have you guys heard this story? And I may be in Gordon's news, but I want to get to it. Georgia gets rid of the driver's license road test during the pandemic.
Oh, fucking Christ.
So now, if you live in the wonderful state of Georgia, all you have to do if you're 16 and I assume you still have to do the driver's ed stuff. But come on, we know a lot of people who went through driver's ed can't drive.
God, I thought it was bad that Nevada got rid of parallel parking and maneuverability, but Jesus.
The
that's
dreaded
a
road
whole-
test is no more, at least for as long as Georgia remains under the state of emergency, which, despite what you may have overheard in your favorite blah blah Decatur tattoo parlor, it is no more classrooms, no more books, no more DMV tests, guy giving you dirty looks. All you have to do is go online, pass the written exam, and you get your ID. You get your license.
Could they do like at least a virtual driving test, which kind of segues into something else?
No,
I'm seeing a
because
lot
all
of
the
race
NASCAR
car-
drivers bought up all the gear. I was just at my buddy James, who did my oil
Mhm.
today, and he's been actively looking for a steering wheel, and he can't find one because all the NASCAR drivers bought up all the equipment. There's none out there.
I noticed it about 4 weeks ago with rally cross drivers.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is 2020, the year of the virtual racing.
So until
are we
May
gonna go to
14th,
football
I
and-
believe, there's no more driver's test, road course test required to get your Georgia driver's license. That is
Get out of the
scary.
state. Stay out the roads. One of the two. Jeez.
Okay, there needs to be a study right away on how accident rates will skyrocket.
I haven't driven Ohio in a long time, but I remember the last time I drove to Kentucky through Georgia. It was at the beginning of the year. I think it was like February or March, right?
Okay.
And Georgia has those road signs over the interstate that we all see, and they have their statistics on how many deaths have been caused by automobiles.
Yep.
And I distinctly remember, it's been a couple years now, but I remember driving, and like I said, this was February, March, like the third month into the year. And in the state of Georgia, by the third month of the year, there was already more people dead from vehicular accidents than people had been shot in the entire country the previous year before. And that was just in one state.
Where's the cry? Where's the outrage?
This is the same
Outrage?
state
Where's
that
the
just said,
uproar?
hey, young guys, don't worry about taking a driver's test. Just pass the paperwork and you're good to go.
Rubber stamp it, motherfuckers.
As long as you
And
make
out
sure
guns and ammo.
you got insurance.
Exactly. Ah, my Lord. My Lord. I don't know.
Where do you guys stand on what's one of your favorite movies from the late 90s, early 2000s? It's not sci-fi. I had to put that in there for Gary. He's big on that sci-fi shit.
Mine would, God, it's still, I think, Snatch. One of my favorites.
Falling Down.
That's a good one. Reason I'm bringing this up is, as I said the other night, my cable and my internet went out and I couldn't play Xbox. So I got into the old DVD collection, and I pulled out Snatch. It holds up. Still a great movie. And it's so nice to see a young Jason Statham and all the other people in that movie.
Lenny James.
Yep. Vinny and all those who blew up. And then yesterday, or was it today? Oh, today, Kingpin was on Independent Film Channel. That's another great movie that holds up.
Great comedy.
That's such a great movie. And
So
then
good.
and then before the podcast, Caddyshack came on. So like, in the last 72 hours, I've just been enjoying some late 80s, 90s, and early 2000s comedies, and I enjoyed every goddamn one of them.
Caddyshack is like the king of all comedies. It's a perfect comedy movie, and I beg anyone to argue that.
There is a school of thought on that, and some people, one particular comedian in general I'm thinking about, his hypothesis is that movie is great depending on how old you were the first time you saw it. And,
Yeah, I could see that.
and it still holds up to the 40-year-old me, but I don't know if I was 40 when it first came out, if it would have struck me the same. But it's definitely a great movie. But no, Snatch just holds up so well. And it's nice, and I think I brought this up a while back. It's nice when you go back and watch a movie pre-HD and shit that's shot on film. Because one, the look of the film is more enjoyable, but two, and this could just be me talking out my ass, but it seems like they were shot in a different way because of the cost involved.
Sure.
A little more raw.
A little more raw, a little more to the point. Just, it seems like there's just a lot. I don't know. It seems a lot more put into it, and just obviously Guy Ritchie has his own directorial ways, kind of like an early Quentin Tarantino did. It's just really, really great work, and it's extremely enjoyable.
Yeah, it is.
it's been
100%.
Did you know what happened 9 years ago yesterday?
What happened 9 years
Yes.
ago?
Where were you
Yesterday.
at 9 years ago yesterday, Gary?
Oh, I was watching the news, watching that Osama bin Laden got capped in his head.
I was playing Modern Warfare, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 when we used to have a clan. We used to run the leaderboards. It was me, Carrie, a couple guys from New Jersey, and I remember Slim came on and said, "Hey, we got him, huh? Bin Laden dead today." So I was actually playing Xbox when that happened. Can't believe it doesn't seem like it's been 9 years.
Got his head canoed by a AR.
Yep. Do you remember where you were at, Gordon?
I was probably at home making dinner or sleeping.
No, I'm going to say sleeping since you don't remember, but yeah, I saw that yesterday. I was like, wow, it's been 9 years ago.
Unbelievable. Time she flies.
Have you guys been seeing this BYOC thing going around now that we're in the
No.
middle of a pandemic? Bring your own chair.
No, I haven't.
I've seen this in a few places, especially when people don't like the curbside stuff. Instead of sitting in cars, people are like bringing lawn chairs. And like today, when I got my oil change, instead of sitting inside, people were sitting out in the parking lot in lawn chairs. I went to Skyline one day for curbside pickup. Guy was eating in the parking lot, but instead of sitting in the cab of his truck, he was in a lawn chair. I've been to a few places around here. I don't know, maybe because I live in Florida, people have more lawn chairs in their car, but it just seems like people don't even want to be stuck in their cars doing whatever they got to do, that they're just pulling out lawn chairs.
Just want to soak up the sun. You actually just keyed me into something I saw today, and I've kind of noticed it lately. But in front of our IKEA, there's also a really big, empty, basically an overflow parking lot. And I've noticed cars, 10 to 20 cars going in, and just hanging out, and tents going up. Don't know what it's about, but it seems a little odd. And I was real close to pulling in and saying, "So what's going on here?" But it could have been run out of there. So I don't know. You seeing weird stuff like that going on, like just random parking lots and whatnot?
No, I mean, I've seen, they set up the tents in front of the hospital, but I haven't seen them being used for testing. Obviously, Chick-fil-A has their drive-through menus down to a fucking science.
Yeah.
And pre-COVID-19, the busier ones would have 2 drive-through lanes, and they would have white tents set up out there so that their employees can sit in the shade while they're got their iPads out taking people's orders. But yeah, I mean, I see a lot of that at the Chick-fil-A's.
Yeah,
just like that.
and In-N-Out's kind of the same way with their drive-through. They've been like that for years.
Dennis Stevenson said on the Facebook live stream, "I'd rather have coronavirus than live in North Fort Myers." Hey, funny fella, that's a little rough.
Damn.
He'd rather live in North Fort Myers than Lehigh Acres, even.
Yeah.
So I hear Lehigh Acres is the butt of a lot of jokes. And I don't understand why, because I don't live there. Is there anything you could fill us in on?
Lehigh Acres is to Fort Myers what the Inland Empire is to LA. And I know that means nothing to people who've never lived in California,
Would
but
it be like
it's-
Urban Crest to Grove City?
no, because Urban
Nah.
Crest is inside of Grove City. Lehigh is outside of Fort Myers. It's nowhere near
Orient?
the beach.
Maybe Orient to Grove City?
Yeah, possibly. It's nowhere near
Okay.
the beach. There's a lot. It's kind of like it's the poor man's Cape Coral. It don't have the canals. It doesn't have the river, but it's just a lot of
We got bugs. We got lots of bugs.
They got well, no, they have rampant, raging feral pit bulls running around. They're
That's awesome.
it's just a lot of drained swampland with houses, and it's a lot of times lower to lower income housing, and like I said, a lot of bait dogs running around all chewed up from pit bull fights, and it's part of the reason I get a butt of the joke is I guess in the early 2000s when they started to heavily advertise, some smart person got Eric Estrada to come down here from Chips and try to convince everybody that Lehigh was the place to live, and it's real close to the beach when it's like a 30-minute drive. But it's just there's just nothing out there. It's hot. There's no beaches. There's no river. There's nothing. It's just houses and just, drained swampland.
You're like Nevada's per rump.
Yeah, exactly.
But actually, I did have one question for you today, and I think it's on everybody's mind since you've got the new dog. Is Bailey going to get her own Instagram account?
Carrie was talking about that. I don't want to. I'm not going to do it just because I personally have way too many social media pages to fucking handle. And if I was going to make an Instagram page, I would have one for each podcast instead of having one to handle all of them.
Right.
But Carrie's toying around with the idea. It'd be a lot of heavily farted themes because no one tells you that Boston Terriers fart like an 80-year-old man after Thanksgiving dinner daily and primarily in their sleep. My 3-month-old Boston Terrier that's the size of my 10.5 foot smells worse than my 60-pound 13-year-old beagle with a big growth on his ass. Okay? This little thing fucking farts so bad. It's like the Toxic Avenger just passed out on your couch.
So she's her own biological weapon.
We went and got one of those slow bowls today. Are you familiar with those?
No.
They're a food bowl because part of the reason they fart so much, as we talked about, is because the shape of their skull, and Frenchies are the same way. They consume a lot of air when they're eating. And so with every gulp of food, they're swallowing air, and that sits in their stomach, and then they fart it out. And so they have what they call slow bowls, and it's basically a food bowl with obstructions in the bottom. Sometimes it's a maze. The one we got is just like a footprint that pops up. Basically, it's kind of like if you were to put a can of soda in their dog food bowl that they can't pull out. It makes them slow down and eat around the object in it so that they're not just inhaling their food. They actually have to pick it and, kind of, it does, as the name implies, it slows them down. It makes them eat at a slower rate. And the hypothesis being that they will consume less air, thus get less gassy. We just bought the bowl today, so it remains to be seen. But she just, dude, I literally had to light. I told Carrie last night that every Boston Terrier should come with its own subscription to Yankee Candle. It's that fucking bad, dude.
Bad.
And not that it's 10:30. No one's eating dinner. So last night I'm playing Call of Duty, and Carrie just no. It wasn't Bailey. Poor Tucker T. He's like 13, maybe pushing 14. We have carpet in our bedroom and then tile. So he walks off the carpet, and then all of a sudden he's like Bambi on ice, and he has a hard time walking across the tile.
Okay.
And said he couldn't make it to the door in time. And I don't know why. His diet hasn't changed. But in our living room, underneath our couch and our coffee table, we have like an 8-foot by 7-foot area rug, and those things aren't fucking cheap.
Oh God, no.
I walked out there and it looked like somebody dumped a bowl of pudding on it.
Oh my God.
He had he shit diarrhea pudding shit on that. We put a little throw rug in front of the slider so that when he steps from lanai onto the tile, he doesn't slide around. It gives him some traction. He shit on that. He shit on one of the stuffed animals that Bailey was playing with. And it smelled so bad. So I quickly pushed the couch as built-in recliner, which is heavier than shit.
Oh, yeah.
And Carrie's like, go get paper towels. I was like, no paper towels. No, don't even. She's like, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to take this thing out. I'm going to take it out and spray it down with a hose. Because the worst thing you can do when you're cleaning up something like that, as Gordon kind of said, is rub it in. When you spill wine, you're supposed to dab it. Well, obviously you can't pull the carpet out of your house, but when it's an area rug, I basically rolled up all of it that didn't have shit on it and then took the rest, sat it on my trash can, sprayed it down with a garden hose, and since I wasn't rubbing it in, it just fell right off. And so I sprayed it down, and I thought, well, push comes to shove, I'll get the pressure washer out, but I just left it out there, and I sprayed the other one out, left it in the driveway, and it's fucking, there's no brown, it just literally fell right off because it was just sitting on top of it. And so since we didn't rub it in, so luckily I was able to save, middle of pandemic, I don't need to go out and drop $150 on a goddamn area rug.
Right.
And that's for a cheap one.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's usually 3 times the amount.
Mm-hmm. And so that we had to deal with that grossness yesterday. And it was just between that and the dog
glad
farts.
I don't have dogs.
Yeah. 2 cats. Yeah.
2 cats shit on my head. I got 4 cats, son.
2's enough for me.
I have a 2-pet limit. That's it.
Well, we only brought 2 of them in our house. My daughter brought down 1, and then one of them was a feral cat that we kind of rescued because it was super cold outside.
Isn't this kind of the common story that we've heard throughout our family? Is I only had one, and all these others showed up.
Yep, pretty much. That's how I got my birds too.
That's what happens when you love animals, and
You
I
got-
love animals too.
You got
but
anything
I
else
can-
on your list of shit, Gary?
Well, we were talking about TikTok earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Speak of the devil.
TikTok, you don't
This,
stop.
This 40-year-old man has jumped onto TikTok. And
I saw that. You're blowing up. You're getting what? A
Yeah.
couple hundred. You're getting like $5,000 worth of views on some of your videos.
more like 35,000.
Nice.
I've got a couple of videos that blew up to 35,000 views.
Now I'm not on TikTok, so I can't watch a video. What is the content? What kind of content? Like, for example, Larry Venturino, as we said, this is a platform intended for kids, and so his video that got 4 million views was a joke that went something like this. I'm paraphrasing. My kid wanted a rabbit. I told him rabbits are messy, so in order to train him to clean up, I put Cocoa Puffs around the house. The Cocoa Puffs got cleaned up. I bought a rabbit, and he said, "Hey, these taste funny." Long story short, y'all, my kid eats shit. That was the basically his joke. And you got little kids. 9 million views later. What are your video content about that's getting 35,000 views?
Well, basically, it's commenting on things. I commented on Avengers Endgame. There's a certain scene in there with Captain America towards the end. I made a comment on that one, and it just kind of blew up. It's about almost at 30,000 views.
Nice.
Got something like 2,000 likes, 50 or 60 comments on it. Had one that was a Family Guy clip. That one hit like 35,000. I'm averaging other ones are in the 500, 600, couple thousand. I got 218 followers now.
Nice job.
6,300 likes. I mean, listen, it's nothing huge, but it's a start, you know.
I
and,
see the gears spinning on the
Yeah.
train right now.
No, I didn't want to alarm Gary, but I think there's a poltergeist in your room. What the hell is that hovering around in your background?
Oh, that's
I think that's like the fucking Grim Reaper in Sims 4. He's going to come get you.
that's the House Stark banner back there
Yeah.
from my Game of Thrones. So kind of fluttering.
For those who view or listen to this podcast who are on TikTok, what is your screen name or your handle or your channel name? Where can
My
people find you?
is Darkside SYDE 80. So at Darkside 80, and they can come follow me, check me out. I'm kind of blowing up some content, trying to put a video up at least every day. Today I posted 2. I went shooting today, so I posted a gun video, and
That'd be interesting to see how that goes over. I've yet to hear any of TikTok's political leanings, so I don't know how they feel about gun videos.
It's hit or miss. It just depends. I've noticed some guys I follow. They said, "Well, this got taken down, so let's get it back up to where it was." Yada yada yada. There's just pictures of guns right now, but I'm going to post up some videos of actual shooting today. My roommate brought his Thompson out, so he shot his Thompson.
there you go.
M1928 or M1A1?
It's whatever the.
Does it have the
I
cuts
don't know.
compensator on the end?
I think so.
The little
It's got
bulbous thing looks like a penis head.
got the vertical grip too.
Yeah, it's got the
front grip.
vertical grip and the bulbous end. That's the M1928. The M1A1 has the horizontal with the, well, unless your friend has the federal firearms license, he wouldn't have the shortened barrel, but it basically
No.
is the stripped down version that they made during the war. What platform were you shooting today?
I was shooting my AR 5.56 MPR Ruger.
There you go.
That's a great AR. I bought it a couple years ago. I think I paid $650 or $700 for it. Great AR. Shot my Kimber Custom 2 1911. Put a compensator on it, new grips, and an old Mossberg 500 shotgun. That's what I was out there running today. Good time.
I shot a buddy's Kimber Gold Match 1911, and you just breathe and you double tap with that thing. It's insane.
When's the last time you seen one of these?
Mm,
I just happen to have it in my podcast studio. I used to sit on my bed, but I didn't want the dog chewing it up.
beautiful.
Yeah.
There you go.
I need to take this thing out and shoot it. But sadly, you can't just put any old 30-06 through it because you'll bend the op rod. So you have to buy specialty ammo, which is about 20. It's about basically $1.50 a round. So obviously,
Too bad. I
Yeah, it's
for
not-
especially.
yeah. But when you want to go spend a day at the range shooting an M1 Garand, it becomes quite expensive real quick.
Yeah.
I tell you what, I've got an AR that I love. It's a Springfield Saint, and it's 5.56. It's multi-round, but I end up shooting 2.23 through it because it's just what I can find and reloads.
Well, at what point do you just decide to drop $230 on an AR-22 so you can get the feel of the platform, but save the money by shooting a 22 long rifle?
A buddy of mine's got one for his son when we go out shooting. So we've got the full-on ARs, and he's rocking the 22, and he rips up with it, man.
Yeah,
It's
I know
awesome.
a lot of the SWAT teams, like in the smaller towns, they do that because they can't afford, to be expending 2.23 rounds, and so they'll get some AR-22s just to have the feel of the platform. And,
Well, what's interesting is what Metro does out here is they use a lot of airsoft guns for training.
Mm-hmm.
Right in the parking
Oh,
lot.
just happen to have this here.
Look at that. We're all showing off today.
Yeah, that's the goddamn. That's a long barrel. I have a
Yeah,
Denix.
it's long.
I got the Denix version, which is basically a stamped out paperweight. But obviously, now is that the Ohio ordinance or no auto ordinance? Probably auto ordinance who
Yeah,
makes
auto
the Thompson.
ordnance, yep.
Yeah, no, there is a company called Ohio Ordnance who makes Browning assault rifles and all that.
Shoots like a dream. It feels like you're shooting a BB gun.
Now, does that
I
one
love it.
have the 32 round stick mags, or does that support the drum mag?
He's got both. Got the
How
50
heavy is that
round.
fucker with the drum mag?
We have not loaded it yet with the 50 round drum, but it's heavy enough with the stick mag.
Well, I know the advantage to the drum mag was when, obviously that's a semi-automatic, but with the
Yep.
fully automatics, it helped keep the barrel down when you're laying down a lot of fire.
Yeah, I mean, if you're shooting full auto, I can definitely see that. With this, I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, there's no kick on this thing right now. It's semi-automatic. It feels like you're, like I said, shooting a BB gun.
And that's
I mean, it's
saying something
incredibly accurate.
considering it's nothing but a piece of walnut bolted to the back of the receiver. I mean, there's no recoil system on that at all.
Yeah, I mean, you
mean,
can't feel it. I
yeah.
mean, you really can't.
It's a beautiful
And
weapon.
then there's me. This is the coolest gun I've shot lately. It's a Sig Sauer P320X carry. So 17 plus 1 modular. I mean, I can literally change the grip out. The only part that's actually FFL or licensed or registered is the module that holds the trigger and the slide. That comes out. You can replace the barrel, you can replace the slide, you can replace the grip. And the grip, I think, is like $60. So I could go to a smaller grip or a larger grip. It's insane.
Well, you all ready for the news?
I am ready for the news.
You might actually be able to hear this today.
Joining us now from the Digital 410 West News Desk in Las Vegas, Nevada, Gordon Abernathy.
Gordon, how are you doing tonight?
As we know, I'm doing all right. Been a little grumpy, but doing fine. So again, as we know, the same old song and dance, trying to find some interesting news that's not coronavirus related, which I did find some, but I found an interesting one that was. And CES is a huge convention here in Las Vegas every year, and they're saying that we're and SHOT shows going on and everything else around these times, January, February, and the question is, what were Las Vegas conventions actually the corona super spreaders? So there were some local workers who reported symptoms back in December. So in the early days of the coronavirus, Las Vegas may have been a big hotspot more than anybody had realized. There's been talking, some people have been talking, some reporters have been talking to people all over the country who now think they've had the virus and they think they got it here. So, the officials haven't really changed the COVID-19 timeline, but there's been some people that have come out and tested that they've got the antibodies and they were really sick after leaving CES back in February. I'm like 2-3 weeks at a time.
Well, I know our
And
family
they
was out
come up
there.
with the antibodies, so
Our
it
family was
makes sense.
Our family was out there in December for Christmas for you, and I know Lisa got back. Her sister, she was sick for a long time.
Yeah, she was. There was an interesting thing that happened, and I'm just now thinking about it, and I don't want to sound offensive. I know our older mother kind of was not happy with it, but we get these big tour groups from China.
Mm-hmm.
And we damn near got run over by one. I'm talking hundreds of people. So And she made some comment. Maybe that's how Lisa got sick. But it's you never know. You never know. But again, they're thinking, just really could have done it because they're all here and then they spread out across the country, right?
Sure.
And it's
and we all know what happens in Vegas never fucking stays in Vegas. So I mean, that shit goes all over the place.
But I do have one more interesting one that's COVID related, and this is in Orlando. This comes out of Orlando, Florida, through the AP. There was a man arrested who was trying to quarantine on a private Disney island. Have you heard this one yet?
No.
So Florida deputies arrested a man who had been living out in his quarantine on a shuttered Disney World island, telling authorities that it felt like a tropical paradise. Orange County Sheriff's deputies found Richard McGuire on Disney's Discovery Island on Thursday. He said that he'd been there since Monday or Tuesday, doesn't really remember the day, probably a little drunk, and had planned to camp there for a week, according to the arrest report. The 42-year-old said that he didn't hear numerous deputies searching the private island for him by foot or air or boat. So these guys are looking for him. I didn't hear you.
How did he? How did they know he was there? I guess they probably got trip sensors and cameras out there.
I am sure that it was. The Orange County deputies on Bay Lake used even a PA system to tell McGuire he is not allowed on the property, but he remained on the island anyway.
There's a cool YouTube channel where these two cats go around all these abandoned places. They went to like the Six Flags in Louisiana. Mm-hmm. And there was this one, they went to this old nut house. It was a funny farm that closed down in 2004. And I think it was in New Jersey or somewhere. And they heard this weird noise, and it was the bearings on this computer. And they turned on the monitor, and the thing was still running Windows 98, and it was still running. And it had been on. I'm sure somebody broke in there and turned it on. But long story short, this place had been shut down since 2005. And the thing still had Windows 98, and they tried to create one of those travel logs, like when you go places, you leave your name, but the keyboard was broken, and so they found old emails, and they were copying and pasting letters out of these old emails into a WordPad to try to create a log book. But it's pretty crazy to see, especially like the Six Flags in New Orleans that's completely abandoned. You can see in a few motorcycle commercials, but yeah. It's crazy to see how we just let some of these places go. And obviously, this guy's just camping out on a Disney property, but I don't know how they knew he was there. Well, there has to be
security saw him.
Yeah,
is what it's come out.
Yeah,
they said that they saw McGuire using a company boat on Thursday.
Oh.
So not only was he there, he was poaching their company boats, right?
That's
so
what they got.
Use what you got, sucker. It's not being used. I'm going to use it.
Right.
So as we know, kind of moving on, lottery is very, very. God, the odds are horrible, right? Why even play it?
Sorry, I'm just distracted. I'm looking at the Facebook live feed, and we've moved up in the world, boys. We got ourselves some closed captioning going on.
Yes, I noticed that actually last week when I have it on my silence. But yes, so imagine winning $1 million jackpot twice on the same day.
Same lottery ticket, or they buy the lottery tickets in two different states?
Well, let's get into it. Pueblo, Colorado. Cue the Dead Milkman song. It's coming in from the AP. With a little bit of luck and persistence, a Colorado man has hit the jackpot twice after playing the same numbers for 30 years. Colorado lottery officials identified Joe B. as a winner of two $1 million jackpots on March 25th. Weird, because I thought there's only one jackpot.
Well, if he bought two tickets at two different places playing the same number, then he would win the jackpot twice. He would just have to split it with himself.
Yep.
Right.
So the winning tickets sold on Lake Avenue in Pueblo at two different stores. You are correct. And they're only located about a mile apart. So Joe B bought one ticket in the morning and the other in the evening. Colorado Lottery received approval earlier this month in the process of winning tickets worth the 10,000 or more at a touch-free drive-through claims office amid this pandemic we've got. So winners must make an appointment to claim their prize or do so in the mail.
Be interesting
And-
if I was an accountant, I would know this, but I wonder, do you think his taxes would have been higher if he would have won one ticket with the jackpot and didn't have to split it with himself?
That's a good question.
I mean, you would
That is a
think,
really
well,
good question.
hypothetically, the number's the same. It just split in half. He had to pay it 2 different times. But since each one of those tickets have a lower price range, then the taxes are based off of that. And even something just tells me probably a little bit cheaper than if it was all one lump sum on one ticket.
We'll have to get our minions on that one and figure out minions being me. Figure out
Yeah,
where,
you're the smart one here.
what's
Crunch
going
the
on.
numbers.
So so we've seen a lot of police chases.
Yep.
A lot of them are entertaining. Some of them are horrifying.
You ever been in anything remotely to a police chase?
No.
When I lived in Grove City, Meadow Grove was still being under development, and the back of it was still being built. And when I worked at Wendy's, I used to take the back roads home. I would go down Stringtown to, was that 665 or is that 104, Gary?
665.
65.
Yeah.
And then I would take it, whatever the hell that was. That I can't remember the name of the back road.
Roar
Not-
Road? No.
762.
No, it's basically the road that,
It's on the north side of Meadow Grove.
yeah, you would take it. It's basically ran in between Meadow Grove and the interstate. Anyhow, we took the back way home, and I remember Matt Schmitzer was driving me home that day because my S10 wasn't running properly. And we're coming through the back of the neighborhood, and we get pulled over by a police helicopter and 4 cruisers.
What the fuck?
Jeez.
And now we both had just gotten home from Wendy's, and we knew that we didn't do anything, and so we just shut off the ignitions and started lighting cigarettes.
Mhm.
And Grove City's finest came up, and what are you guys doing? Coming home from Wendy's. What are you doing in the back of the neighborhood? We're taking the back way home. Who lives here? I do. Can we see the bottom of your shoes? Okay, well, this tells me someone's running.
Yeah.
And the way we showed on the bottom, okay, get the hell out of here. So, we got a helicopter on us, 6 cars surrounding us, guns drawn. Long story short, they had pulled somebody over on 75, and the passenger bounced and ran through the golf course, and they were looking for him. And we just happened to be pulling through the neighborhood and in the back of this neighborhood that's still under construction. And so they thought perhaps me as the passenger just got picked up. But yeah, we were pulled over by a fucking helicopter and 6 cruisers. That was fun.
That's enough to get your heart rate up just a little bit anyway.
No, it wasn't White Road, Martin Mazika, because that's closer to the high school. It was, what the fuck road was that? Anyhow, it doesn't matter. McDowell?
think
Not
of
McDowell. Anyhow, it's the one that right on the edge of what used to be referred to as Meadow Grove 2 before you got to the bridge that crossed the overpass. But anyhow.
Well, speaking of car chases, the driver leads officers on a chase while riding a Bobcat tractor. Yes, this is where the news has gone today.
Technically, that's a
'Cause
low
we're
speed
trying-
chase. What's the top
Very
speed
low
of a...
speed.
Bobcat.
And it's even slower than the OJ chase, I'm sure. But yeah, it was a 5-mile-an-hour chase. So police said that they are searching for. This is the funny part. They are searching for a suspect accused of leading officers on a slow speed chase in Santa Fe while riding a Bobcat tractor. So not only was this a 5-mile-an-hour chase, he got away.
Well, of course, because if that's a propane Bobcat, he's never going to run out of fucking gas.
So the police said the driver repeatedly ignored commands to stop the stolen tractor and eventually plowed his way through barbed
Pull
wire.
over.
And then that's when he's born free, right?
Pull over.
5 miles an hour. Don't they think they
5 miles an hour, and they couldn't do
ran
it.
and caught up to him and like tased him or something like
Well,
that?
what are you going to do? This is a Bobcat. You can't do a pit maneuver on it. It's like ramming a concrete wall. This thing doesn't have inflated tires, so you can't put a strip out.
So the authorities said that this driver fled into a field and then disappeared. No arrests were made, and it is still under investigation. So fantastic police department there in Santa Fe. You let the guy go.
I mean, they could have 5 miles an hour. They could have climbed on board of that thing and just tased him. I mean, that's what I'm thinking.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Could you
5
imagine the
miles an
slow
hour.
speed chase done all cinematic about the guy trying to jump from the cop car onto that?
Holt
baby
Road,
fish.
ladies.
The wind's blowing, and they're making it look really fast, but it's 5 miles.
Holton Road. I'm on Google Maps. It was Holton Road.
Okay.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that's pretty much all I've got for news because unfortunately the world is still buried in shit. And tried to. Oh, I do have one more. D-Train.
Mm-hmm.
You now have to take TMZ off the list as a legitimate news source. Kim reappears in public.
Now, was
Ending her
Kim holding a
absence.
newspaper with the date on it?
It's a good question.
Who's to
Seoul,
say that
South
that video
Korea.
clip ain't from
Big
fucking
brain.
4 months ago? I mean, it's not like, now if he's standing, if he's holding the newspaper like the before and after weight loss photos.
There's a little bit more that's probably a little more.
I want
important
proof
than
of life,
the
goddammit.
newspaper. So, but the reason he appeared is he's celebrated the completion of this is horrible, fertilizer factory near Pyongyang. State media said Thursday, ending the absence that has triggered global rumors that he may be seriously ill or dead. The North Korean official.
If he's not holding a newspaper with the date or something that's
well,
just,
people saw him, or was it his doppelganger?
could have
I
been.
mean, they'll do anything for him. They'll lie for him. They think he's a god. I mean, I'm sure there's some sort of shenanigans going on here.
Yeah, people saw him, but once again, they're behind a firewall. They don't know that footage was released today. That could have been filmed 4 months ago.
Well, allegedly, the ceremony that he was at was on Friday with other senior officials, including his sister, Kim Yo Jong, who many analysts predicted would take over if her brother was suddenly unable to rule. State media shows the videos of and photos of Kim, sans the dated newspaper in the background, although it's the same media, wearing a black Mao suit and constantly smiling, walking around the facility, applauding, cutting a huge red ribbon, probably with really big scissors, by a sister, and smoking inside and outside the buildings while talking with other officials. So there is one country where you can get away, your public rulers, in this case, dear leader, can definitely smoke wherever he wants.
Martin Mazika said we should send Dennis Rodman over there for proof of life, but one, Rodman would just lie, and two, we can't have him do a Facebook live stream because I don't think there's any cell phone signal over there. So I don't know if that would work either.
But yes, Kim has been sighted alive and well, to the chagrin of many people in the world.
I won't
of
believe it
America.
until the newspaper's held up. I want to see a picture of him with the New York Times with the date on it, and we'll go from there.
Plus, I heard his sister's way more evil than he is. So
Of
I'm kind
course.
of like,
Hell have
hopefully
no
he's alive.
fury.
Okay, exactly. But that is all I have for news today, guys.
Well, that is going to wrap it up for this episode of the What's in Your Head podcast. Gary, I know we gave out your TikTok, but if people want to find you on TikTok again and find you other places, where can they find you?
TikTok at Darkside SYDE80.
And if they want to find you anywhere else, or Facebook, or your
They search my name, Gary, last name Bone, BONE.
Gordon, where can people find you?
I can be found at Aegis1974 on Instagram, Gordon at D410 on Facebook.
Thank you guys so much. Thank you, OG5. And if you guys want to help support the show, support the YouTube channel, head over to d-410.com or what'sinyourhead.com. That's the word what's, the letter N, the word yourhead.com. Sign up for Patreon, and it's $1 a month, and you get free stickers, free content. OG5, Gordon and I are hoping to do a new Behind the Firewall or Behind the Paywall podcast tomorrow, so we'll have some new exclusive content up for you guys. Thank you so much for your continued support, and holy shit, we got through an episode without any technical difficulties thanks to our friends at Zoom, and shout out to them for getting rid of the 40-minute quota. We were anticipating on doing the show into 2 pieces tonight because we always run long, but thank you, Gary, for joining us tonight. Thank you, Gordon, and tune in next week. We're going to have 2 females on here who are going to get open and honest with us about what it's like to be a female in the day of social media, and we're going to talk about unwanted and unexpected DM messages, and we're going to get raw and rough because, well, they're tired of it, especially when they're married. And when you check your DM and here's a photo of some genitalia from somebody you've never even talked to before, it gets a little old. And so that ought to be an interesting conversation. We're going to get into that next week. So tune in next week. Thank you guys, and we will talk to you soon.
Will O'Neill is the mayor of
Whoop,
Newport.
wrong one. See, didn't get out of this clean. Almost had it clean. Here's what we're looking for right here.
This has been a Digital 410 production.